Why do you reincarnate? It's a question few dare to ask, and even fewer truly understand. Most people assume reincarnation is about past lives, forgotten memories, and some cosmic lottery that determines who you'll be next. But what if everything you think you know is wrong? What if reincarnation isn't about who you were, but about what you're doing right now? Buddhism doesn't just teach about rebirth, it teaches you how to break free from it. Because here's the truth, you are not trapped by fate. You are not doomed to repeat the same mistakes. Your future, both in this life and the next, is being shaped at this very moment. And if you understand the rules, you can change the game. In this video, we'll unravel the real meaning of karma and rebirth, showing you exactly how these forces shape your life. More importantly, we'll show you how to take control. You'll learn. Lesson 1. Reincarnation versus rebirth. Understanding the difference. Hint, it's not what you think. Lesson 2. Karma shapes your future lives. And this one too. The real reason your life feels stuck. Lesson 3. The illusion of a permanent self. Letting go of ego. Why the you think you are doesn't exist. Lesson 4. Breaking the cycle, the path to liberation. How to escape the loop of suffering. Lesson 5. Mindful living, every moment is a new birth. The secret to rewiring your karma right now. Lesson 6. Detachment from desires, freeing yourself from samsara. Why chasing happiness makes you suffer. Lesson 7. Compassion and merit, how helping others affects your future. The fastest way to reshape your destiny. Lesson 8. Meditation as a tool for awareness and liberation. The mental training that changes everything. Lesson 9. Dying before you die, preparing for the ultimate transition. The lesson that makes fear disappear. Lesson 10. Rebirth as a daily practice, transforming yourself constantly. How to reinvent yourself every single day. This isn't just another spiritual discussion. It's a roadmap to transformation. If you've ever felt like you're stuck in the same cycles, making the same mistakes, attracting the same struggles, this is for you. Before we dive in, do one thing, hit like and subscribe. If you want to master your karma, escape suffering, and take control of your life, this is just the beginning. Let's get started. Lesson 1. Reincarnation versus rebirth. Understanding the difference. Most people hear the word reincarnation and picture an eternal soul hopping from body to body, life after life, like some cosmic game of musical chairs. But Buddhism, it flips that idea on its head. There is no fixed, unchanging you being reborn. Instead, think of it like a ripple effect. Your actions, thoughts, and emotions create a pattern that carries forward, shaping what comes next. Imagine throwing a stone into a pond. The ripples spread out, affecting everything they touch. That's rebirth. The past you is gone, but its influence remains, directing where the next ripple begins. So instead of obsessing over who or what you were in a past life, Buddhism asks, what kind of ripple are you sending forward right now? This shifts everything. It means that your present choices matter more than any speculation about past lives. If you've been stuck in the same destructive habits, bad relationships, self-doubt, procrastination, it's not some mystical fate at play. It's the result of past patterns continuing to ripple through your life. But here's the kicker, you can change it. Right now. That's why this lesson is crucial. Understanding that rebirth isn't about some immortal soul traveling the cosmos, but rather a continuation of cause and effect puts the power back in your hands. And once you grasp this, the next logical question becomes, if my actions shape my future, how does karma actually work? Lesson 2. Karma shapes your future lives, and this one too. Karma. People throw this word around like it's some cosmic scoreboard, tallying up good and bad deeds. But that's not quite how it works. Karma isn't about divine punishment or rewards. It's about momentum. Every thought, word, and action sets something in motion, like planting seeds that will inevitably sprout. Think about it this way. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest, and every step you take clears a small path. Walk the same route every day, and soon that path becomes easier, smoother, automatic. That's karma at work. The habits, decisions, and mindsets you reinforce today shape the direction of your future, both in this life and the next. Let's get real. If you constantly react to stress with anger, guess what? You're training yourself to be an angry person. If you avoid challenges out of fear, that fear solidifies into your identity. But flip that. Start responding with patience, courage, and discipline. That becomes your new path. Karma isn't some mystical force outside of you. It's the weight of your own past choices steering your present and future. And that means one thing: you can rewrite your trajectory anytime you want. Every moment is a chance to plant new seeds. The question is, what kind of future are you growing? And speaking of rewriting your path, there's one thing that might be holding you back more than anything else: the illusion of a permanent self. Let's break that down next. Lesson 3. The illusion of a permanent self, letting go of ego. You think you know who you are. You have a name, a personality, preferences, maybe even a strong sense of identity. But here's the truth: none of that is permanent. Buddhism doesn't just suggest this. It shatters the very foundation of what most people believe about themselves. Imagine you're a river. Is it the same river from one moment to the next? The water is always moving, shifting, changing, just like you. Your thoughts, emotions, and even your body are in a constant state of flux. The problem is, we cling to this illusion of a fixed self. We say things like, "I've always been this way," or "that's just who I am." But those statements, they're just stories we tell ourselves, and the more we repeat them, the more they trap us. Think about it. Have you ever looked back at an old version of yourself, maybe the way you used to think 5 years ago, and cringed? That's proof that you're not a static being. You're evolving. And yet, people still cling to labels. "I'm not good with money. I'm always anxious. I can't change." But that's the ego talking. And the ego, it's a master manipulator. It convinces you that you have to defend this fragile identity, even if it's making you miserable. The key is realizing that there is no single unchanging you. And when you let go of that, life becomes fluid. Suddenly, making different choices feels possible. Growth isn't a struggle, it's natural. And most importantly, you stop taking things so personally. If someone insults you, they're not attacking a permanent self, because that self doesn't exist. And once you grasp this, a question naturally follows. If I'm not a fixed self, then who or what is actually being reborn? The answer lies in understanding the cycle itself and how to break free from it. Let's go deeper. Lesson 4. Breaking the cycle of the path to liberation. If life feels like an endless loop of struggles, disappointments, and chasing after things that never seem to satisfy, you're not imagining it. That's samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, driven by craving, ignorance, and karma. And here's the hard truth: unless something changes, it keeps going. Over and over. Think about a fly buzzing at a window, desperately trying to get outside. It smashes against the glass again and again, thinking this time it will work. But it won't. That's how most people live, repeating the same mistakes, getting frustrated when life doesn't change, without realizing they're trapped in a pattern of their own making. So, how do you break free? Buddhism lays it out clearly, the Noble Eightfold Path. It's not about waiting for some divine intervention or hoping your next life will magically be better. It's about conscious, deliberate action right now. Right speech, right action, right livelihood. These aren't just philosophical ideas. They're the steps to reprogramming your karma, shifting your momentum, and creating a future where suffering doesn't control you. But let's get practical. Breaking the cycle doesn't mean renouncing everything and moving to a monastery unless you want to. It starts with small, intentional shifts. Pay attention to your thoughts. Are they feeding negativity or clarity? Notice your actions. Are they leading you toward peace or more struggle? When you see the patterns, you can change them. And when you start really paying attention, you'll notice something profound. Every moment is an opportunity for rebirth. You don't have to wait for another lifetime to change. You can start right now. And that brings us to the next crucial step, mindfulness. Because if you're not present, you'll miss the chance to rewrite your future. Lesson 5. Mindful living. Every moment is a new birth. Most people drift through life half asleep. They wake up, check their phones, rush through the day, react to whatever happens, and repeat. Days blur into weeks, weeks into years, and before they know it, they're stuck in routines they never questioned. But here's the thing, every single moment is a chance to start over. Fresh page, a new birth. Buddhism teaches that life isn't measured in years, but in moments of awareness. Every time you wake up to what's actually happening right now, you break free from autopilot and take control of your direction. Think about it. How often do you eat without tasting, walk without noticing, or listen without really hearing? Mindfulness isn't some mystical practice reserved for monks in the mountains. It's about waking up to your own life. Try this. Next time you drink coffee or tea, do it slowly. Feel the warmth in your hands. Notice the aroma. Actually taste it. That's mindfulness in action. It's training your mind to be here, instead of lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future. And the more you do this, the more power you have over your karma. Because here's the secret, if you want a different future, you have to change the present. And that starts by being present in it. Once you get that, the next lesson becomes clear. Why are we so attached to things that don't last? Let's talk about detachment. Lesson 6. Detachment from desires, freeing yourself from samsara. Desire is sneaky. It promises happiness, but the second you get what you wanted, it moves the goalpost. A better job, a bigger house, the perfect relationship, always just out of reach. And even when you do get it, the satisfaction fades. That's the trap. That's samsara. Buddhism isn't saying you shouldn't enjoy life, but it does ask a hard question. Are you chasing happiness, or are you just running in circles? Because craving, whether for success, love, approval, or even spiritual progress, keeps you bound to suffering. The more you need, the more power the world has over you. Imagine holding onto a rope that's burning your hands, but you refuse to let go. That's attachment. It's clinging to things, people, or identities, even when they're hurting you. But here's the truth, everything you fear losing will be lost anyway. The real question is, will you suffer when it happens, or will you be free? Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means freedom. It means loving without possession, working without obsession, and experiencing joy without fear of losing it. It's the difference between enjoying a sunset and trying to trap the sun in a jar. But how do you practice this in real life? Start small. Next time you feel a strong craving, whether for a material thing, someone's validation, or even revenge, pause. Do you really need it? Or is it just another illusion keeping you stuck? The more you question, the more you break free. And speaking of breaking free, there's something else that speeds up this process, compassion. Because karma isn't just personal, it's also shaped by how we treat others. Let's dig into that next. Lesson 7. Compassion and merit, how helping others affects your future. Most people think of karma as a personal bank account. Deposit good deeds, withdraw good fortune. But it's much bigger than that. Karma isn't just about you. It's about the ripple effect of your actions on the world around you. Think of it like planting trees. You might not sit under their shade, but someone else will. Every act of kindness, every moment of patience, generosity, or understanding plants something that grows beyond you. And here's the twist. The more you focus on lifting others, the lighter your own suffering becomes. Ever had a terrible day, but then helped someone and suddenly felt better? That's not magic. That's cause and effect. Buddhism calls this merit, and it's one of the fastest ways to reshape your karma. When you shift your focus from what can I get to what can I give, your whole reality changes. And no, this isn't about grand gestures. It's about everyday choices. Holding the door for someone. Listening instead of waiting to talk. Donating, mentoring, or simply choosing not to respond to negativity with more negativity. Little things repeated daily that create massive change over time. But here's where it gets really interesting. Compassion isn't just about what you do. It's also about what you think. Wishing someone well, even silently, shifts your internal world. And the mind, it's powerful. Which brings us to one of the most important tools Buddhism offers, meditation. Because if you want to control your karma, you have to learn to control your mind. Let's dive in. Lesson 8. Meditation as a tool for awareness and liberation. The mind is wild. It jumps from thought to thought like a monkey swinging through trees. One moment replaying past mistakes, the next worrying about the future. And here's the kicker. If you can't control your mind, you can't control your life. That's where meditation comes in. Buddhism doesn't teach meditation as a trendy wellness hack. It's a weapon, a way to cut through illusion, quiet the noise, and see things as they truly are. And the best part, it's not complicated. You don't need incense, fancy cushions, or hours of free time. You just need to sit and pay attention. Try this. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. Sounds easy, right? Now count each inhale and exhale. See how quickly your mind drifts. That's the problem. But the more you bring it back, the stronger your awareness becomes. Over time, you start noticing everything. How emotions rise and fall, how cravings control you, how thoughts shape your reality. And this changes the game. Meditation isn't about escape. It's about waking up. It's about realizing that most of your suffering isn't caused by life itself, but by the way your mind reacts to it. Imagine training your brain like an athlete trains their body, learning to stay calm under pressure, to see clearly instead of blindly reacting. That's the real power. Once you experience this shift, even death, the thing most people fear most, loses its grip. Because if you've mastered your mind, you've mastered life. And that leads us to the final and most profound lesson, how to prepare for the ultimate transition before it happens. Lesson 9. Dying before you die, preparing for the ultimate transition. Death scares most people. It's the great unknown, the thing no one wants to think about until they have no choice. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Ignoring it won't make it disappear. Buddhism takes a different approach. Instead of fearing death, it asks, what if you could practice for it? Think about it. Every night when you fall asleep, you let go of the day. Every time you lose something, you experience a small death. Every moment that passes will never return. Life is a series of endings. Why pretend otherwise? Instead of avoiding this reality, Buddhism teaches that leaning into it is the key to true freedom. Monks even meditate in cemeteries, sitting with bones and ashes, not as some morbid ritual, but as a way to accept impermanence deeply. But you don't need to do that. You can start right now. Ask yourself, if I knew I had 1 year left, what would I stop wasting time on? That's the real question. Because the more comfortable you become with endings, the more fully you can live. This doesn't mean giving up, it means loosening your grip. It means being present without clinging, loving without attachment, and pursuing goals without letting them define you. It's a radical shift. When you stop fearing death, you stop fearing life too. And here's the paradox. When you embrace this, every day feels new. You stop carrying yesterday's baggage into today. You realize that rebirth isn't just about what happens after you die. It's something you can choose in every single moment. So, what does it look like to live this way? It means seeing every challenge, every setback, every experience as a fresh start. And that brings us to our final lesson, how to use rebirth as a daily practice for transformation. Lesson 10. Rebirth as a daily practice, transforming yourself constantly. Most people wait for big moments to change. New Year's resolutions, life-altering events, rock-bottom wake-up calls. But Buddhism teaches something different. You don't need a new life to start fresh. You can be reborn every single day. Think about how much energy people waste clinging to old mistakes, regrets, or versions of themselves that no longer serve them. They say things like, "That's just the way I am," or "It's too late to change." But here's the truth, it's never too late. In fact, change is happening right now, whether you realize it or not. Every breath, every decision, every action shapes what comes next. Want proof? Think about someone you admire, someone who completely transformed their life. Maybe they overcame addiction, reinvented their career, or became a different person entirely. How did they do it? Not overnight. Not by waiting for the perfect moment. They made a choice, then another, until their new path became reality. That's the secret of rebirth. You don't need to wait for a next life to start over. You just need to stop carrying the past into today. You just need to decide, right now, to be different. Let go of the old story. Drop the excuses. Step into the present fully. And if this sounds powerful, it's because it is. This understanding is what sets people free from their suffering, from their conditioning, from the endless cycle of repeating the same mistakes. But knowledge alone isn't enough. The real question is, what will you do with it? So now you know the cycle of reincarnation isn't some mystical force outside of you. It's the patterns you repeat, the attachments you hold onto, the karma you create every single day. And that means one thing, you are not powerless. You don't have to keep reliving the same struggles, the same fears, the same regrets. The real question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you keep waiting for life to change? Or will you start rewriting your karma right now? Maybe that means letting go of a grudge that's poisoning you. Maybe it means finally breaking a toxic habit. Or maybe it's as simple as deciding to live with more awareness, more presence, and more intention. Whatever it is, don't just think about it, do it. Because the only thing keeping you trapped in samsara is you. And if this resonated with you, don't stop here. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. There's so much more wisdom to uncover. Also, if you're serious about deepening your understanding, I highly recommend to map it up Buddha's own words on karma, rebirth, and liberation. It's super affordable on Amazon, and I've left the link in the first pinned comment so you can check it out. Thanks for watching, and before you go, click this next video. Because this journey, it's just getting started.